All right, guys, we're going to just do a little recap on how to reflect points, and we're going to be reflecting them over the x-axis, over the y-axis, and then over both the x and the y-axis. Okay, so first thing, let's start with what is a reflection. A reflection is the mirror image or a flipping of a figure about a line of symmetry. And today those lines of symmetry are going to be our x-axis or our y-axis. So each point of our reflected image is the same distance from that line as the corresponding point. So if your point is 3 spaces away from the x-axis, when you flip it, it'll be 3 spaces from the x-axis, just in the opposite direction. So after a reflection, the figure preserves its size, its shape, and it's congruent to the original figure. It's going to look exactly the same. So if you reflect your shape, but it looks different, go back and check your points because something's not right. Okay, it should be the same size, should be the same shape, should look exactly the same, just in a different spot. Okay, so there's a few rules when we're reflecting, and if you remember from class, you must write the rule for each reflection. That's part of showing our work, is writing the rules. And it's also going to help you remember them better come quiz time, come test time. Okay, so first off, we're going to talk about reflecting over the x-axis. And we know that the x-axis is that horizontal axis. So if we're reflecting over the x-axis, the rule is to change the y-coordinate to its opposite. So if the y-coordinate is a 3, we change it to a -3. If the y-coordinate is a -4, we change it to a +4. So it's kind of opposites we talked about. If it's the x, we're going to change the y to its opposite. So how do I show my work? This is how you're going to show your work for every reflection question, whether it's 1 point or if it's a whole shape. Okay, and I highly suggest drawing like a little chart, like what was in your notes today. It's a good way to keep your work nice and neat and organized, and to make sure that you don't leave anything out and you get full credit. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put down our original coordinates. So if our original coordinates are 8, -9, we're going to reflect that over the x-axis. Then we have to write the rule. If we're reflecting over the x-axis, that means we're going to change the y to its opposite. Change y to opposite. That's all you have to write. So if I'm going to change the y to the opposite, I'm going to highlight that -9 or underline it or circle it or whatever you want to do to show me that you're changing the y, which is -9, to its opposite. And when we do that, the reflected coordinates are +8, +9. Okay. Now, if we graphed both of those, the x-axis would be running between them. It would look like we took that first point and just flipped it over the x-axis. All right. So if we're reflecting over the x, change the y to its opposite. Next, we're going to talk about when we're reflecting over the y. When we're reflecting over the y, exactly opposite of the other one, we're going to change the x coordinate to its opposite. So how do I show my work? Again, let's start with my little chart where I write the original coordinates, where I write the rule, and then where I put my reflected coordinates. So let's say our original coordinates are 2, 5. If I'm going to reflect it over the y-axis, I'm going to change x to its opposite. So that's the rule. I'm going to write it down here. Change the x to its opposite. Now I'm going to highlight which one is my x. In an ordered pair, we know that that first one is our x. So I'm going to highlight it, I'm going to circle it, I'm going to underline it, something, because that's the one that I'm changing. And then I'm going to change it to its opposite. The opposite of +2 is -2. So our reflected coordinates are -2, +5. Now, if we plotted both of those in the coordinate plane, we would have the y-axis running in the middle of them. Okay, all right, and then lastly, if we're reflecting over both axes, and a bunch of you guys guessed the rule in class, if we're reflecting over both axes, we're going to change both to their opposites. Okay, so again, showing my work is easy. I'm going to write the rule, I'm going to write my original coordinates, then I'm going to write my reflected coordinates. So let's say that our original coordinates are +1, -9. To reflect over both axes, I'm going to change both to the opposite. When I change both to the opposite, that means I'm going to change the x, and that means I'm going to change the y. My +1 will become a -1, and my -9 is going to become a +9. So my new coordinates, or my reflected coordinates, are -1, +9.